Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The chapter that we're about to begin, the 12th chapter of TANYA, is considered really the entire raison d'etre of the book of TANYA. Why? Because over here he's going to speak about the Beinoni personality. The Beinoni personality is why he wrote this book, why he wrote the Sefer HaTanya. In fact, the common name, the popular name for the book is Tanya, because the first word of this Sefer starts Tanya. But the official name given by the author was the book of the Beinonim, Sefer Beinonim. And the Beinoni is in the middle. On one side is the tzaddik, who's the righteous person. On the other side is the rasha, who is the sinner or the wicked person. And then there's the one who's in the middle. So he's the Beinoni. I don't know if it's the moderate or not, but he is in between these two extremes of righteousness and sinfulness or wickedness. So he is in the middle. Now, exactly to define what does it mean in the middle, that's what has been going on and leading up to what's going to be discussed in the 12th chapter that we're learning today. Now, what we know so far is that, first of all, he's in the middle. Now, you have some translate the Beinoni, the in-betweener. He's in between tzaddik and rasha. Other translations say it's the intermediate personality, the one that's intermediate. So there's a process of going from rasha to tzaddik, from the sinner to the righteous. So he's intermediate. But when we're going to study actually the personality of the Beinoni today, we'll see that it's not just that he's somewhere in between, but it's much more complex than that. It's that he has both in him. He has qualities of the sinner, of the rasha, and he has qualities of the tzaddik. He has both in him. So really a more accurate description would be the more complex personality. But the word Beinoni literally means someone who is intermediate or in between. But it's not like someone who has, usually when you say something that's in between means that it's neither here nor there. And what the Beinoni is, he's not that he's neither here nor there. He has in himself here and there. Here and there are in him at once. And that's what makes him complex. And precisely for this reason, the Alter Rebbe wrote the Sefer Tanya. Because he has in him both qualities, he has the inner struggle. There's a struggle going on in him between the good and the evil, between his ego and his altruism. The struggle that's going on in him, for that the Alter Rebbe wrote the Tanya, to guide someone who has the inner struggle, to bring out the greatness of him, to call him a warrior, like he's going to say in the 27th chapter, that the Beinoni wasn't necessarily created to become totally righteous. He was created always to be a warrior. And Hashem sees glory in the Yid who is always facing challenges, and he rises to those challenges. And every time he has a challenge, and he does what's right, that is something that pleases Hashem, or the words of the Zohar is the glory of Hashem is sensed in all the worlds because of each time that the regular guy rises to the challenge, and with his Yetzer Hara, with his inner struggle, with any issue that is evil. And that's why the Alter Rebbe spent so much time and writing every word. There were times that he spent hours or weeks choosing the right word or even the right letter to put in the Tanya. And when he was asked, why are you thinking so long about the next line to write or the next word to write, he said, the Beinoni, this personality, who's struggling with his inclinations and who has always challenges, for him it's worth all the time and effort that he is putting into the writing of the Tanya. So that's chapter Yud Beis, that's the 12th chapter. Now it's important to point out that even though the level of the Beinoni, as we're going to learn, is a high level, but it's also a level that we should all strive for. And even though almost none of us will actually live to be, so to say, in the status, certainly not the permanent status of the Beinoni, but nevertheless, to a certain degree, the struggles of the Beinoni and the philosophy of the Beinoni and the psychology of the Beinoni apply to all of us, and there's opportunity for all of us. So let's follow it inside Perek Yud Beis. The Beinoni hu shelo olam ein hara goiver kol kach lichbish et zahir ktana leslabish beguf lachtia. By the Beinoni, it doesn't happen that evil possesses him, possesses his body. The Beinoni doesn't sin. We spoke about the godly soul and the animal soul. We spoke about that in the earlier chapters, the first few chapters till Perek Hey. He spoke about the godly soul and the structure of the godly soul. Vav Zayin Ches, he spoke about the structure of the animal soul. And there's the line of battle between the godly soul and the animal soul. There was this line of battle between them. And as a result of that, in the 9th chapter, he put down the, so to say, the rules of the confrontation, of the battle. So now in the 12th chapter, after discussing in the 10th chapter about the tzaddik and the 11th chapter about the rasha, now it's the Beinoni. So here we have the face-off, and they are both struggling to possess the body. It's all about the body. Hashem created a physical world, and the soul, the godly soul, is in the body. The mission of the godly soul is that not only should it be a holy soul because it's a godly soul and part of Hashem, but this holiness should be expressed in the physical body of flesh and blood that has tendencies more, an inclination more to the senses that is provided by the animal soul than the godly soul. So the Beinoni is the one who has complete control and discipline. And he doesn't allow the animal soul to take control of the body to the degree that it will sin. It will not sin. Dahainu. Sheshloishe levushe nefesh habahamis shemachshava dibur u'maisa. The garments of the animal soul, thought, speech, and action, which we studied about in the earlier chapters. So this is any forbidden thought, a lewd thought, a thought of sin, or certainly speech, forbidden speech, and certainly sinful action. It will never, the animal soul will not take control of the body, that the body should actually commit a sin. Shematzada klipa. So these garments that come from the klipa, ein graven boy al nefesh alakis leslabish beguf. The animal soul is not successful in taking possession of the body, in thought and speech and action. The term levushim, garments, was discussed in the earlier chapter. The body and its actions is a garment for the soul. So the godly soul wants to dress up, so to say, with good actions. So when we are doing good, so the godly soul expresses itself through the body. And then the body is an instrument of the godly soul. These are the garments. So the question we have to ask ourselves always, is our bodies, thought and speech and action, a garment and an instrument and a tool of the godly soul to express itself? Or the animal soul is driving us to sin? So now the animal soul's ultimate goal is to get us to be, that the body should be a tool and an instrument of sin. So by the Beinoni, this never happens. It will never happen that the animal soul will become enclosed, will possess the body. It will not possess the brain. It will not possess the mouth. It will not possess any of the other 248 limbs and organs to cause sin and to cause tumah, impurity. Lachtiam ulatamam chas v'shalom. And what does his life, what's the life that he actually lives and practices? He does everything that's right. The Beinoni personality does everything that's right. The godly soul is in possession. What does he do? He does the 630 mitzvahs of Torah. So the body is an instrument for good. And he's going to, however, conclude, he's going to follow up soon, and we'll soon get to that, that even though in actuality, what does he do is do what's right, he does what's right all of the time. Well, what's going on inside here is a different story. Inside of the Beinoni personality, he has desires which are like the Rasha. He is attracted and he may sense temptation for sin. He'll certainly be attracted to the physical pleasures. Inside, the Beinoni is similar to the Rasha. In practicality, he doesn't actualize those desires that he has inside. The baser instincts that he has inside are not expressed in the practical life in his physical body. So who's in control is the godly soul. But it's not that it's the only inhabitant in this place. There are two inhabitants in this place. The godly soul is present and the animal is also present, very present. To a certain degree, it's possible that by the Beinoni, the animal soul is more sensed in him, like by most of us, because the animal soul and the body are kissing cousins, so to say, because the animal soul is the vitality that's in the body, and the senses, and the need for gratification, and the instincts, etc., etc. And the instincts don't ask questions about morality. Our instincts, our animal instincts, don't ask what's right and what's wrong. But but he is also, his body and his persona is also inhabited by the godly soul. And by the Beinoni, the godly soul is in control. So there's a wild animal in there, but he hasn't reined him in. And he won't let his animal loose, because he reined him in and is in complete control of that animal. So his animal goes where he wants, because he reined him in. Tefillin is reining in the animal, it straps. Says in Zohar, it's to rein in our animal soul. So the Beinoni has that struggle inside. But in practicality, he is living the righteous life. Now he's different than the tzaddik on the inside, not on the outside. On the outside, you could judge a Beinoni and say, well, this person's righteous and that person's righteous. But But the tzaddik personality, he has no longer any struggle. The Beinoni, a person is doing the same thing like the tzaddik. He never sins. But he has the struggle. That's why the Beinoni is like the tzaddik. On the inside, the Beinoni is like the Rasha. Because the Beinoni on the inside, he has his baser instincts are alive and tempting him, and he's attracted to it. So on the inside, he's like the Rasha, but he's in control and he's disciplined. And the question is, how does he? What is going on in the mind of the Beinoni that empowers him to control himself? And there's a line over here, 2 lines in Tanya, which students of Tanya, since Tanya was written, a lot of commentary has been written, and there's several editions of translation of Tanya that have been written recently, as translations into English or into Hebrew. Now he says a line over here about the Beinoni, which is very important. And to me, it is also the empowerment, the secret to the empowerment of the Beinoni. It says here as follows. So as we said before, the Beinoni is in complete control, notwithstanding that his instincts are alive and his inclination for the physical is alive and really challenging him all the time. But nevertheless, he never sinned in his life, and he will never sin. And then he continues. Not only did he never sin, he never was called a Rasha. He never had the label of a Rasha, even for one moment, all his life. So there are two qualifiers that he says here. He never sinned and he will never sin. But that's not enough. He has never been called Shem Rasha. He's never been called with the title or the label of a sinner. And these 2 lines, students of Tanya have struggled and given various interpretations, and I'm going to share with you a few of them. First of all, what does it mean that the Beinoni never sinned and he will never sin? How do we know he will never sin? How does a Beinoni know? Second of all, and that's the main question, is, I know I sinned yesterday, 10 years ago. So then, if the Beinoni is a person who never sinned, then anyone who once sinned should close the book and say, well, it's not to me. It says, he never sinned. And and he will not sin. What does that mean? What does this line mean? The Beinoni is someone who never sinned and will never sin. And especially the Alter Rebbe wrote this for everyone. And we're going to learn in the next chapter that the Beinoni is Midas Kol Adam. This is the characteristic that everyone should follow, certainly strive for. But if he didn't sin and he will not sin, that's a tzaddik. Okay, so I understand that he's not a tzaddik because he's always challenged. So I understand that. But what does it mean? Does he mean literally that if someone, the Beinoni never sinned, and if someone who once sinned cannot be a Beinoni? Now we know, and he already said that in the first page of Tanya, in the first chapter, that if someone sins, he's a Rasha. If he does tshuva, he's a tzaddik. So what's the Beinoni? So we know for sure that someone who sinned Could be a tzaddik, not only a Beinoni. So what is he saying? So why is he saying he never sinned? It could be he sinned, but he did tshuva. So he could be a Beinoni, he could even be a tzaddik. What are you saying? So this line has been understood that it means that the state of mind of the Beinoni is that he's in the state of mind that sin and evil is non-negotiable. That evil and sin is something that is beyond the pale, is the red line. And I want to elaborate a little on this. All of us have a red line. This I won't do. So for example, for some people, it's, I'm not going to eat on Yom Kippur. There's people, they're not following the law, they're not following halacha all year, but on Yom Kippur they won't eat. On Yom Kippur I don't eat. It's non-negotiable. It's a principle that's non-negotiable. Well, why? Listen, I'm a Jew. I'm a Yid. A Yid doesn't eat on Yom Kippur. But you don't follow other things? But this is the red line. Someone else, it's pork. Some people, it's, I'll never convert to Christianity, or I'll never convert to another religion. There's a red line. Now, the person who is committed on that level, he has his red line, it's non-negotiable. He doesn't even entertain the idea of eating on Yom Kippur. It's not that he has a struggle about eating Yom Kippur. Or the person who pork, it's not negotiable. He doesn't even entertain the idea of eating pork. He will not entertain the idea of not being a Yid. He just won't entertain the idea. That's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to negotiate. It's not negotiable. Now, when a person has that state of mind, that's the healthiest state of mind for a principled person. Someone who's truly principled, it starts in his state of mind. He has the state of mind of that principle that it's non-negotiable. Then it's a real principle. Listen, I have principles. I have principles. Some person, a judge's principle that he will not take a bribe. He says, you want to offer him a bribe? He says, I can't do that. So there are certain red lines that a person has. And once he has in his mind that principle, in his head, then like he's going to say later on in this chapter, Hamoyech shalat al alev, taken from Zohar and others from, that the mind rules over matter, that the mind rules over us. So if we can program our mind that our principles are non-negotiable, and we're in a state of mind that I have never sinned and I will never sin. In state of mind meaning, yeah, perhaps I sinned and I did certain things that were wrong in the past. But that's another me. That was another life. Now, the way I stand now, the way the Beinoni stands now is, it's as if he never sinned and he will never sin. Because this is a red line. And to a certain degree, all of us, hopefully, have a certain red line and a principle where it's non-negotiable. The Beinoni, the entire Torah is non-negotiable. It's not that he doesn't have those desires. He does have desires and he's attracted to it and he has that struggle and he has a struggle all his life and he has the animal soul and the animal soul is there, etc., etc., etc. But he is in a state of mind, of principle and discipline, that in his mind at least, he will never actually act out on any of these desires. like someone who's principled and he will never commit adultery. It's just a red line. He's faithfully married, he or she. It doesn't mean that they don't have attraction to perhaps what's forbidden, but they know that this is a red line. So I better look away. I better control my eyes. I better control my heart, my height. I better get out of this situation, because that's a red line. That's the empowerment of his commitment. That empowers his commitment, that he has that commitment and that dedication, that he is in a state of mind, he will not sin, and he has not sinned, and he will not sin. When a person can bring to the fore that level of principle, he is doing a Beinoni state of mind. The Beinoni, however, has it on the whole Torah mitzvahs. That's step number one. But he doesn't leave it at that. He says another thing. V'lo nikra olav shem rasha. Not only is he in a state of mind and commitment that he never sinned and will not ever sin in the whole Torah, but he hasn't even had the label of a rasha. The name, lo nikra olav shem rasha, which is another category. It's already a higher level of nobility of the character of the Beinoni. And that not only is he in total in his mind and in reality, the mind is controlling all of his desires and his instincts, but he hasn't even been called a rasha, which means there's someone who's not a rasha, who's a rasha. A rasha is someone who acts out and sins. But we can call the label of rasha also to people who not necessarily sin, but there's something about their character that we can still label them rasha. For example, thoughts of sin. Some students of TANYA, when I say students of TANYA, I don't mean young students college age. Students of TANYA, scholars of TANYA, better said. Some scholars of TANYA, rabbis who have commented on TANYA, explain this to mean that even if he never acted on it, but there are thoughts of sin, sinful thoughts entered his mind. So even though he's not a sinner, but he's called by the name of a sinner, which it's not, he didn't actually do anything, but it's still he had the thought. He had the thought. So he has the label, he still has that label. Others interpret this to mean that his personality is, he doesn't sin, but he's called a rasha because his personality is coarse, he's lustful, he's glutton. Everything's kosher. There's a term that's the Ramban labeled a kosher low life. What's a kosher? Novel b'shus ha'Torah. What's a kosher low life? He doesn't sin at all. Torah permits us to have more than one wife. So, original Torah law, and some of our patriarchs had more than one wife. So, but he's into women. He has money. So he has several wives. So he's never bored. So he fulfills all his desires for women, kosher, chuppah, and mikvah, everything is glad kosher. So, is he a sinner? No. But is he lustful? He does it kosher. But where is he at? Or with food. Everything is glad kosher. He'll eat up the whole pomegranate menu and tries everything. So he's into Italian food and Chinese food, and Sunday Italian food, Monday Chinese food, Tuesday dairy, right? And he's into food, and he's into women. So he's glutton, and he's lustful. Everything is kosher. So he's not a rasha because he didn't do any sins. And he's a righteous person who will never do a sin. But he's called a sinner. The Rambam says he's a lowlife. He has a label of a sinner, although technically he's not a sinner. So Beinoni is not that way. So he never sinned. These are the two lines here. He never sinned, and he's not even labeled a sinner. Now, as I said before, well, does this apply to me? Doesn't apply to me. To a certain degree, it applies to us, because we could see ourselves in that situation, perhaps not completely, and perhaps not all the time, but certainly most of us, some of the time, could relate to this, to put it politely. So that is the good news of the Beinoni. The good news of the Beinoni is that in practicality, he's doing always what's right. So now, what is the downside? So now we're going to read inside the downside. Ach mahus va'atzmus nefesh elokis, but the essence, his essence of his godly soul, shenes b'chinoseh, his character, his passions, lo yilehen levad and hamlucha v'hamshola birktana. In his persona, his body, the loves, the passions, the emotions, are they the emotions of the tzaddik or not? As I said before, on the outside, the Beinoni is like a tzaddik. And it's really the outside that counts. What counts is what you do, not what you act out. So he's to that degree. What does he live? He's principled, and his state of mind is very principled, and he's disciplined, and he always does what's right in action. And that everyone is capable always of doing what's right. That's what a Beinoni is something closer to us. But so the Beinoni on the outside, or in his action, in the real life, he's a tzaddik. But now what's going on inside? Where are his emotions, his feelings? What are his passions? So the Beinoni is not only have feelings and passions for the godly, he also has feelings and passions for the physical, for the corporeal, for the bodily. And that's what he says, his godly soul and eser b'chinoiseh, those are the emotions and the mind, are not the only one in control of the city. The city is a term for the body. So in that sense, he's like the Rasha because he is interested in physical gratification, and he is even attracted to evil. So in that sense, he's like the Rasha. Because where are his feelings? Where are his passions? So he's passionate about the physical. He won't act out on it, like we said before. However, the Beinoni, sometimes in the inside, and he's going to elaborate on that a few lines, that sometimes in the inside, the Beinoni turns into a tzaddik in the inside. And that is when the Beinoni is davening. When the Beinoni is davening, he prays with a passion. So after davening, he doesn't have that passion. The Beinoni could be passionate about Hashem. We're talking about where's his passion. This Beinoni personality, where's his passion? So his passion, godly soul, feeds him passion and feelings and senses. The senses of the godly soul is awake in him, and also the bodily and the animal soul's passions are there. And that's where the struggle is, and that's where his choices are. And that's why his animal soul puts ideas in him to tempt him to what is wrong. He'll never act out on it, but he gets these ideas in his head, so he has to watch his eyes, he has to watch his desires, he has to watch his mouth, so he's in control. But the Beinoni could be someone who is passionate about Hashem by davening. When we daven, that's a time we're all supposed to be passionate. And the Beinoni could be someone who's passionate about Hashem when he davens, and he's going to elaborate on that. But after davening, when he walks in the street, this same person who loves Hashem when he davens notices stuff, and he says, wait, I was davening 10 minutes ago, and now I'm in the street, and my eyes are noticing. They're noticing. So he's in control right away. He sees something he shouldn't be looking at, so he's going to move his eyes away from it, right? But the Beinoni is wondering, wait a minute, I was davening with such passion. I love Hashem so much. So why is it that I'm even noticing and making note of that which is reflecting baser instincts that I thought I lost when I was davening? And that, on one hand, is the struggle of the Beinoni, and also the beauty of the Beinoni personality. Because he could be davening with such passion, because he does have an understanding of and an appreciation for religion, and for Yiddishkeit, and for Torah, and for Chassidus. He does that have appreciation, and he may be with a passion, because he is a very deep person, and yet his animal soul is still there, because when he goes out of the shul and out of the Beis HaMedrash, he's back to his old animal instincts, and he's now has to rein in his nefesh habahamis. But let's read about how his personality is during davening. And I think that's also important, because while reading this, I think it's also a lesson to us about how we should see proper davening. So, skiyim be'itum zamanim, kamoi b'shas kriyish matfila. In special times, like when he davens, says the Shema. The two main parts of davening is the Shema and the Amidah. She shas moichin the godless lamayla. In terms of Kabbalah, they say that when it's time for davening, this is broad-mindedness, a time of broad-mindedness in heaven. Now, of course, this is not physical. Kabbalah uses physical terms. Even the Torah uses physical terms when the Torah says that Hashem took us out of Egypt with an upright arm, right? And with a strong arm, he beat the Egyptians, the Mitzrayim. It doesn't mean that Hashem has a strong arm. He's not physical. He has nothing that's related to physicality. He's not even a big ghost. He has no form or shape, not physical or even spiritual form or shape. That's what we call him in Kabbalah, the Ein Sof. But there is this idea of moichin, the godless, broad-mindedness, which the most basic form of explaining this would be that Hashem is open to all who turn to Him. Like the kings, open the doors, let all citizens come in and make their petitions to me. So if the heavens there is moichin the godless, which literally means big brains, which I think is better translated as broad-mindedness. This translation is supernal mind, which is, I think, I would say super broad-mindedness, godly broad-mindedness would better reflect the idea. So since up in heaven, this is a moment of broad-mindedness, then down here below, we can broaden our mind, our spiritual mind, to connect with Hashem. Davening is an opportunity to have a relationship with Hashem. This is an opportunity to have a relationship with Hashem. So therefore, since this is a special moment above, v'gam lamata hishas hakoisha l'chol adam, it is an opportune time, a special time for every person. Sh'az mekasher chabad shaloi laHashem. It is an opportune time to tie his brains, his chabad, to Hashem. So it's broad-mindedness above, so we can also broaden our minds in connection with Hashem and developing a relationship with Hashem. That a person should deepen his understanding of the greatness of the Ein Sof in his mind, and also to develop a love in his heart. And to awaken a fiery love in his heart, be on the right side of his heart, where the godly soul dwells, to cling and attach himself to Hashem, to fulfill Torah and mitzvahs with love. So here's the time to develop a relationship with Hashem. To develop a relationship means, do you care about each other? Do you love each other? It's not just the discipline. The Beinoni, as we said before, he has an animal soul, and when he comes out of shul and finishes davening, he's struggling with his animal soul, and he's control. And even though, as I said before, in his mind, he has a mindset that it's non-negotiable, sin is non-negotiable, but nevertheless, his heart is on fire for the physical and even sinful attractions. But when he's davening, he's working on himself to have a relationship with Hashem. And I think that's why this is important for us. I don't know to what degree everyone is capable of thinking about Hashem, and to what degree everyone is capable of developing a love for Hashem. But certainly everyone is obligated to develop a relationship with Hashem. Davening is talking to Hashem. You know, to develop a relationship, you have to give time. Do we appreciate our blessings? Do we appreciate our health? Do we appreciate our comfort, our physical comfort? Do we appreciate the blessings of life that Hashem gave us? We have not only one eye working, two eyes working. Someone who was in pain often told me that if he has a day with no pain, he thanks Hashem profusely. But it's not about that. Here it's talking about a deeper level. Hashem made us, Hashem gave us life, Hashem gave us a mind, Hashem gave us feelings. We should develop a relationship with Hashem. And this is an opportune time. The gates are open, and anyone who can come in, and someone who doesn't show up, what kind of a citizen is? The king is celebrating something, and the gates are open. Come in, everybody. The guy says, nah, not interested. The person's not a great citizen. And he's also a bit of an idiot, because if you would have an appreciation of nobility and grandeur and what the country is about and the culture, in the king's palace there's culture and there's grandeur and there's citizenship, and the country And the dreams of the culture are all in the palace. And he's busy, chewing gum and playing, feeding the birds, playing with dice. Pea brain. There's another place in Tanya who says, if we could daven and we don't daven, it's like insulting Hashem. It's like the king makes this big parade, and normal citizens who appreciate what the king has done for them, right? This is a successful king. There's no more wars. There's peace. There's prosperity. He brought blessing to the country, and now they're celebrating. Every citizen who benefited from the success of the king in managing the country and brought prosperity to all the citizens, and he's not happy. He's not there. He's just wasting his time with nonsense. When we say over here, it's a time of godless demoichin up in heaven. It's Hashem's parade, so to say. And he says, citizenships, I'm here. Send me. What do you need? When the king's celebrating, also he wants to grant the petition for the citizenry. And what is he? So that's what this is about. So the Beinoni, he is on fire. His mind is deep in thought, in connecting with Hashem. He has a deep relationship with Hashem that's not only in mind, but also in feelings. And this is clear in the mitzvah of Krishma that's in the Torah. And the Torah is a mitzvah every day to say the Shema. And the mitzvah of saying Shema, we are contemplating into Hashem, about Hashem. Because what's Hashem? Echad, Hashem is one. And we're supposed to meditate. When we say the first verse of the Shema, we're supposed to think that Aleph is one God, the one Hashem. Ches is He is in this world. And in the seven heavens, He's above and below. And the Dalet is the four corners of the world. So we say the Shema, it's a mitzvah, in that Torah, it's a Torah obligation to meditate, to think of the greatness of Hashem, how all of the worlds are just an expression of His greatness and just a small speck of His greatness. So that's the opportune time to develop our relationship with Hashem. And the blessings of the Shema, which we say, we speak about the angels, we speak about that Hashem makes the morning or He makes the evening, the sunrise, the sunset, the day comes, the night falls. So that's midrabanan, shehin midrabanan, hinachana l'kriyim akriyishma k'moshkasim mokamakar. And a later chapter is going to speak about how just reading the Shema and the blessings, the brachas of Shema, this alone should move us to love Hashem. So this Beinoni, when is he inside and outside like a tzaddik? When he davens. Then not only are his actions righteous, but also on inside he's on fire. When a Beinoni davens, he's like a tzaddik because no one sees him. There's no sense of desire and debasing things. None of that is there. He's totally on fire with Hashem. And during that time when he is davening, his animal soul is subjugated and is suppressed by the godly soul. And there goes into his heart, his physical heart, is possessed by the fire of his relationship with Hashem. So that's when he is inside and outside connected to Hashem. So that's the good news about the Beinoni. But after davening, it's another story. The godless Ein Sof Baruch Hu, when it's removed that broad-mindedness, the heavenly broad-mindedness, and his immersion of his mind in the greatness of Hashem is already past because he finished davening. So the evil inclination awakens. It returns. In his left side, and his heart desires and lusts for the pleasures of this world, the Tanugav. So that is the struggle of the Beinoni. That is the struggle of the Beinoni. So this is a summation to what we learned so far of the Beinoni. So on one hand, to be the Beinoni in its complete form seems distant from us, but this is something that we can relate to. Why? Because one of the main reasons why the Alter Rebbe wrote the Tanya, and what is the chidush and the novelty of the Tanya, is that you don't have to become an angel. That our mission in this world is not to become a tzaddik. It's to do what's right. It's to do the 613 mitzvahs, yes. To do the 613 mitzvahs, but not to change your inside. Just do it is the saying, right? Just do it. What does it mean, just do it? But I don't feel, and I'm not in the mood, and I'm this. The Beinoni also was not necessarily in the mood, and he doesn't feel it, and he has feeling for the opposite. So the Alter Rebbe is telling you, you don't have to become the tzaddik. So he says, well, but I'm not motivated. You ever hear the rabbi? I'm not motivated. You don't have to be motivated. Just do it. It's just doing it. That's why everyone could be a Beinoni. Everyone could be a Beinoni. Because why right now, well, yesterday you sinned. Let's put yesterday aside. Let's do today. So from now, it is 8:30. From now until you're going to go to sleep, am I going to act like a Rasha, a Beinoni, or a Tzaddik? So if you have that state of mind now, that forget about before. It's non-negotiable. This thing's non-negotiable. Yeah, but I still have temptation. I have a Yetzer Hara. So that's okay. No problem. Don't try to get rid of your desires. Don't try to get rid of your instincts. Hashem didn't send you here to get rid of your instincts. Hashem sent you here to do what's right, Torah mitzvahs, action. He didn't tell you to clean up your heart. Clean up your act. Don't clean up your heart, clean up your act. That's the Beinoni. Now the Beinoni cleans up his act to the degree that he's all the time acting what's right. Most of us are sinners to a certain more degree than less, because we didn't have that total commitment and state of mind that all of Torah is non-negotiable. But even to read that state of mind, the real Beinoni, that all of Torah mitzvahs, anything that's wrong in Torah is non-negotiable. Even if you reach that, we can still relate to that because I don't have to change my instincts. I don't have to change my instincts. Perhaps what I am inside is like a Rasha, but what I do is a tzaddik. So if you tell me I don't have to change what I am, only what I do, so now it's a different story. And that's what the Beinonis work on that. Good night.